Alright, hi everyone, I'm Green Zero and welcome to the top 10 replays of 2010 as calculated by GameReplays.org. These are based on WUB, so they're the most popular as well. We have 10 of the best players from all types and ranks on all the ranked 1v1 maps, so let's jump straight in and see the top 10 replays for this year, 2010. I hope you all enjoy this video. Alright, let's start the countdown now with number 10. Which sees Win for Fun, better known as Technique, versus Spectre in a Nod versus Black Hand showdown on Tournament Rift. Technique hits early with some fast attack, but it's not enough, and Spectre quickly counters with his own fast attack, taking down several harvesters while going for some Scorp spam in the center of the map. But Technique follows up his harassment with some bikes and buggy combo, while Spec forces Tech into some early tank battles with Scorp v Scorps as both sides battle for the center blue field. But it's not enough from Spectre, even though he puts wave after wave of Scorpion tanks into Technique. Tech holds off and brings his bikes and buggy combo in the mix, but Spec brings along his rocket infantry to give himself a hand, but it's still not enough, and Technique somehow manages to hold back wave after wave of tanks. But with his eco in trouble, Technique sells his Conyard and goes all out for just Scorpion tanks, putting some serious pressure on Spectre and pushing him through back to his center main base as they both battle over the center Tiberium, while Spectre tries to go tier 4 and lure Technique into a deadly Tiv Vein, but Tech doesn't fall for it, instead falling victim to a nicely placed Tiv Vapor Bomb, but it just isn't enough, and Spectre goes down to Technique's superior numbers in a massive tank battle. Time now for replay number 9. Regenerate as the Marked of Kane versus Can't Get a Win as GDI on Tournament Dust Bowl. Can't Get a Win goes out early and secures himself a spike for a nice bonus. He then works his economy up to 5 and 2 with an early expansion, while Regenerate goes for his tier 4 powers and hits Can't Get a Win hard, but Can't Get a Win has triple ref on his expansion, which allows him to counter attack Regenerate in his top main expansion. But Regenerate is ready for it and holds it off with obelisks and dual beam avatars. Can't Get a Win isn't phased though and sends a mass predator army round the side and catches Regenerate's Conyard out in the open, taking it down. He quickly follows it up by destroying Regenerate's main base, but one dual beam cloaked avatar makes a stand and crushes an entire squadron of predator tanks. That's not a good move by Can't Get a Win, and that avatar goes up in veterancy while it's at it. But Can't Get a Win has done enough, and he manages to take out Regenerate's last production structures, leaving Regenerate with just a handful of units for the remainder of the game. But one of those units is the dual beam cloaked avatar, and it takes out 3 harvesters with a single crush on its way to heroic, and easily drops the Conyard with ease, and follows up by just about taking down the Marv single-handedly. And with the Venoms to clear the sky, there's nothing left to stop that cloaked dual beam heroic avatar from destroying the remainder of Can't Get a Win's base. And despite having almost double Regenerate's money, Can't Get a Win just cannot get a win, and Regenerate takes the W. Number 8 now sees Khufu under Best Friend Ever versus Seinfeld, better known as Technique, on Tournament Decision. Both players take the eco path and Technique quickly grabs 3 ref. Khufu does the same but follows up with a pitbull spam through the middle of the map. Khufu makes the first big move, sending in pitbulls followed by orcas, followed by APCs, and takes out every single one of Technique's harvesters. But Technique manages to hold her off with his imp swarm and pushes Khufu out of his base. Then quickly counterattacks in Khufu's northern expansion, but again he can't quite crack Khufu's defenses with too much AP ammo. Khufu quickly goes back on the attack and goes straight for Technique's main again, but his AP ammo APCs can't stand up to the Tipcore bikes, and Tipcore bikes also holding down south for Technique. But Khufu tries again and again to push in, putting mines down and using orcas to attack, but Technique holds the line again. Khufu tries to restart in Technique's main, but there's not enough Tiberium, and the final fight doesn't go the way Khufu planned, giving Technique a nice victory here with a great effort from both players. Number 7 sees Khufu under his Best Friend Ever alias versus Advanced Noob on Tournament Decision. Khufu draws Nod while Advanced Noob draws GDI. Advanced Noob draws First Blood with 3 harvesters going down to orcas, and then follows it up with a rather unusual base build, moving his Conyard forward across the map to bring Predator tanks and his War Factory within short distance of Khufu's base. Khufu is teched up, but his avatars are falling down to superior numbers of Predator tanks, and he uses avatars strategically placed behind his structures to try and stem the flow. But Advanced Noob has too much and starts destroying Khufu's base, but can't quite finish him off, as well as his expansion, and Advanced Noob is pushed out of the area, losing his Conyard. But here's a backup plan. He drops a crane just before his Conyard goes down and goes triple airfield for a last stand with hard-pointed orcas, but he can't quite take out the Redeemer, and stealth tanks help clean up for Khufu, giving him a nice victory and forcing Advanced Noob to rethink his strategies. Number 6 on the list sees Ionian versus Safri on Small Town USA. Safri goes under the alias 1A, 2A, 3A in this screen showdown. Traveller 59 versus Reaper 17, and Ionian moves his Conyard straight away, but Safri sees it coming and quickly gets some cultists up, but a Buzzer Swarm quickly detaches those and just about ends the game there and there. Corruptors run through, destroying building after building with the help of some buzzers to clean the infantry up, but Safri just won't die, and Ionian continues to push, but losing unit after unit to mind control. It turns into a base war as Ionian tries to set up shop, only to lose more units to Safri's mind control. But with no harvesters, Safri's forced to go around and steal Ionians instead, grabbing 2 Reaper harvesters for the cause, but they're both destroyed once they make it back to base as Ionian tries to steal Safri's spikes. Safri doing the same in return, capturing engineers and retaking spikes as both sides battle over the Tiberium, but Safri manages to recover, gaining a war factory, and quickly ends Ionian's chances of a comeback. Match number 5 sees RTS Champion versus Daggyman on Tournament Rift. RTS starts as Traveller 59, while Daggyman goes for the Black Hand. Daggyman sells his Conyard early to go for a dual war factory rush, but RTS Champion is more than up to the task of defending it off, pushing back Daggyman's initial force and even sending him running with Disintegrators and a Seeker combo, allowing him to recover. But Daggyman isn't done yet and manages to push his way back into RTS's field and starts taking out Harvester after Harvester while the Seekers desperately try to hold the line. Daggyman even pushes his Scorpion tank army through to RTS's expansion and tries to knock Harvesters there, but there's too many photon cannons. Meanwhile, both sides try to go for the middle field as things quieten down, but bikes around the south take out a few more of RTS's Harvesters. But things in the center are hotting up as Seekers push in to destroy Black Hand Harvesters, while the Scorpion tanks try to move forward and hold the line. But Photon Cannons and Seeker combo by RTS Champion is proving very effective, while a Disintegrator rush turns around and destroys Harvesters around the back of Daggy's base. Daggy isn't done yet and still contests the middle field, trying to prevent RTS from harvesting any Tiberium at all. But it's futile, and RTS takes the center field with Mechapedes, meanwhile pushing a Hexapod to Daggyman's last known base, while the few Mechapedes make their way through the back door with a Buzzer Swarm. But it's not enough, and Daggyman holds out the Mechapedes and even turns back the Hex with just infantry. Amazing. Daggyman even has the guts to counterattack straight away and puts RTS in a difficult situation while he takes both the bottom spikes to give himself an eco boost, and then counterattacks through the center of the map, destroying the tier 3 war factory and taking out a fair amount of gunwalkers, but there's just too much and RTS manages to hang on. But a few minutes later, a Redeemer walks in and finishes the base anyway and tries to desperately burn down RTS's main, but there's just too many Storm Riders and nothing he can do against it. And the Redeemer goes down, sealing up Daggyman's defeat and giving RTS a nice victory after 40 minutes of pure awesomeness. Game number 4 now sees Vodi as Steel Talons versus Best Friend Ever, aka Khufu, playing as the Black Hand on Small Town USA. Vodi goes straight for his airfield in a quick expansion, while Khufu sends a sneaky flame tank down the middle, but it doesn't get anywhere. So Khufu goes for a tech instead, going straight to his Redeemer even before his expansion, and quickly hits Vodi hard, but there's too many Orcas and Wolverines and they push him back, while the Orcas move through the center and catch out more units, while the Mantises are caught out of position. So Khufu hits Vodi with a nice catalyst, and then follows up with his Redeemer Inspectors and an awesome Tib Vane, which takes out most of Vodi's ground units and leaves just his Orcas, but he's got reinforcements coming in with 3 fully upgraded Mammoth tanks, catching the wounded Redeemer as it tries to retreat, taking it down. Unfortunately, Vodi loses his expansion though, and Khufu's Purifiers fall for the same trap the Redeemer did, getting squeezed between a Marv and those 3 fully upgraded Mammoth tanks as they go down. That flame doesn't do much against armored units, and the Mammoth tanks rank up nicely. Vodi then counterattacks in the south, trying to weaken Khufu's economy, and then another Redeemer goes down, while Vodi hits Khufu's main with the captured Purifiers and the Mammoth tanks and a rig. But it's just not enough, and Khufu holds out and then counterattacks with a third Redeemer, which also goes down to an armoured force. Vodi's in total control and starts a bombing campaign against Khufu, which puts him in a seriously bad position, losing all his refs and several buildings, and the final fight takes down yet a 4th Redeemer, and Khufu goes down to the remaining armoured forces, which feature an awesome heroic Mammoth tank. Alright, we're down to the top 3, and replay number 3 for 2010 sees Eclipse playing as Nod versus Kappa, also playing as Nod on Tournament Decision. Kappa goes for his tier 2 and gets out a second Conyard, while Eclipse goes for triple ref, followed up by triple War Factory in an unusual move, but his Scorp tanks can't break through Kappa's line of Obelisk defense, also with his own tanks, and those Obelisks turn the tanks around. Eclipse tries for the back door, but it's exactly the same story. So Eclipse does one better than Kappa and goes for triple Conyard Obelisk, showing him how it's done and taking down Obelisk after Obelisk, while Kappa sends in his tanks and his Redeemer for support. but Eclipse keeps up the obelisk spam and even brings his specters in, while Kappa tries for beam cannons and loses his Redeemer in the process. The obelisk wars continue now, and Eclipse, with his own Redeemer and dual flames, gets rage and ends up taking down some of his own units, but Eclipse uses a base crawl to put his obelisk further forward to pressure Kappa, and despite having a heroic Spectre, he can't hold Eclipse back, while his Redeemer walks in and destroys the base, and without any attacking units, Kappa surrenders. Time to take a look at replay number 2 on the list now, as we have David CNC playing as the Black Hand versus best friend ever, aka Khufu, as Traveller 59 on Tournament Dust Bowl. Scorps and Seeker Tanks start things off with constant clashes in the east side of the map as David CNC tries to expand while Khufu tries to push his way in, using disintegrators to mix things up, but Khufu can't crack David CNC and both sides go right down their tech tree. David CNC grabs a Redeemer while Khufu gets his Hexapod and attacks up north in David CNC's main. David's got plenty of M buggies though, and the Epics constantly clash, but Khufu's at a disadvantage. He doesn't have any M, and the Storm Riders desperately try to hold back those M buggies as his Hex gets emped again and again and again by some nice play from David CNC, but those Storm Riders are really tough to take down with just buggies, and David CNC struggles while he goes for Tibcore rocket bikes, but it's not enough, and Khufu goes in for a power run, but it ends in total disaster, while David CNC scouts out Khufu's massive air armada. He doesn't have time to prepare though, as Khufu presses the attack in his main base, throwing all his air units into the fight and cooling in a nice Tiberium infused asteroid. But the fight's not over, and Khufu presses the attack, bringing his Hex in, and the air units continue to pound the elite Redeemer. But David CNC launches a nuke, so Khufu hits back with his Rift Generator on David's expansion, knocking out all his power, while Khufu pushes for an attack down south, desperately trying to kill that heroic Redeemer, while the Mantises try to flank and destroy as many ships as possible, several going heroic in the process, and Khufu gets caught out. The Mantises go in, and he makes a last stand with his Hexapod, but it's just not enough. He can't hold David CNC back, and another nuke helps secure David CNC a nice victory after 50 amazing minutes. So here it is, the number 1 replay you've all been waiting for. This is voted as number 1 by GameReplays.org. It had more wubs than any other game this year, and it comes from Tournament Decision. We have our 2 players, old versus new pros, and it's one awesome replay. We have D-Dackle playing as GDI versus Bonus Roo, also as GDI in a mirror match on Decision. Bonus goes triple ref fast, while Dackle goes for dual airfield and quickly harasses Bonus Harvesters, while he goes for triple ref himself and a crane. Lucky too, because he loses his Conyard moments earlier. As things start to get hot while Dackle moves units through the middle, being distracted, and Bonus Roo manages to take out a bunch of Harvesters, but it doesn't slow D-Dackle down at all. He moves in Bloodhounds with support on Bonus Roo's expansion, pushing through now, even using an Orca Strike just to weaken the Conyard, and he desperately tries to take it out, but Bonus Roo pushes him back and counters fast. Dackle holds it off and both sides prod at each other slowly, while Bonus Roo works on his tech and manages to push Dackle out with the Sonic Emitter, while Dackle continues with the Orca harassment, taking down the tech jugs and proceeding to weaken Bonus's economy. Bonus tries to use pimples to push him off, and it seems to work. His jugs and infantry force has Dackle caught out in the south, but Dackle has a backup plan. He sent a surveyor to the top north and established an economy, while infantry versus infantry face down in the north again, but neither side has any upgrades, and the fight is long and hard. But Bonus Roo manages to recapture the same Juggernaut husks 3 or 4 times each and pushes forward and overwhelms Dackle's main base, and without a Conyard to build anti-infantry towers, Dackle is pressed in his expansion. With no production structures left, all he has is a few hammerheads and an epic harvester move which goes in and destroys the remainder of Bonus's units and comes through for an amazing victory. And that is the top 10 replays of 2010 as decided by GameReplays.org. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Special shout out to best friend ever, aka Khufu, for featuring in 4 of the top 10. That's got to be a record, or pretty close to one. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and keep fighting, and maybe next year you'll be featured in the top 10 replays of 2011. I'm Green Zero, and remember to look out for my VODs, which are available every week on GameReplays.org.